Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Ruth. I'll be your host throughout tonight's event. That's a quick look at me. As we settle into WebEx, I'll talk for just a little bit so you can be sure your sound is working. We're going to be using the chat feature throughout the webinar tonight. It's typically located on the lower right with a little chat bubble, so you can open that chat window with the messaging icon that's at the bottom of your screen. When you have questions or comments, please select everyone from the drop-down menu. There are lots of other choices there. Everyone will ensure that Daniel gets to see what you want to share or ask. Some of the other choices don't allow that. So how about if we try that now? Select everyone from the drop-down. If you have a chat option, select everyone and maybe tell us where you're joining from this evening. All right. Hey, Daniel.
Hello, Ruth. How are you?
I'm well. How are you tonight?
Very nice. Very nice. It's nice to see you
Oops.
and
Oops. Sorry. I
it's
think I
okay.
need to click something so that people can actually choose everyone. Thank you. All right, let's try that again. All right, everyone in the chat. Thanks for letting me know. All right, we've got it going. Thank you.
Good. Look at all these people. This is great. Great, great, great.
That's great. Okay, so we'll continue to look at that. We'll have a chance to scroll up and down a little bit. Tonight's session is being recorded. If you encounter any video or audio issues that you just can't get resolved, don't worry about it. Tune in later when you have the video available. You'll be getting some email that I'll have a link to the recording and also a link to documents for tonight's webinar. All right, just keeping an eye on the chat here. I think we have resolved that. Remember, choose everyone from the drop down to be sure that everyone can see it. If you choose all attendees, it might sound like we could see it, but actually Daniel can't see that, nor can I. All right, I keep talking to Daniel. I keep talking about Daniel. There's your picture. Ready, set, go. Thank you, Daniel, so much for this series of webinars again. And ready, set, go. You're it.
Awesome. Thank you, Ruth. Well, welcome, everybody. This is number 8 of 8 webinars that we've done this year. So thank you all for joining us. Looks like we have around 50 participants so far, so that's exciting. And I see some familiar faces. So thank you to those who have come back for more. So we've spent pretty much this entire year discussing the changes to the IB curriculum and what I've noticed some struggles have been, and then what has TI done to help the IB teacher with their technology and their activities and information like that. And we've had some very, very good responses from our webinar. So I thank you to anybody who's come to one of mine before, just to hear me speak, because I do a lot of that. But tonight we're going to do things a little bit differently. Yes, I'm going to share my insight on how I prepare and how I think teachers can benefit from knowing how I prepare. We're going to go through some different examples, but I'm going to also get some feedback from you all and see what you do in your classes and kind of see, because we have people from all over the world, and I would love to see what you're doing, because honestly, you might be able to help me too. I know we only have, we're at April 14th now, and the first IB exam is April 28th, and I mean that's not math, thankfully. It's physics, but we're starting. Physics has their exam in 2 weeks. Ours is starting in 3 weeks. So we're down to crunch time. So we're going to talk a little bit about how I prepare, and I'd like to hear how you prepare as well. And we'll go through some sample IB questions. from the TI website. These are things that I have written for TI that, emulate the exam style that we're used to seeing for IB. We'll go through a handful of those. I'll talk about some of the things I've noticed with respect to grading. I went through my stash and picked out some different mark schemes that I use for grading my exams every May, which we actually meet in a couple of weeks to discuss the mark scheme, which, I'm excited about that as well. So a lot of things happening right now. And then as soon as I'm done with this webinar, I get to go grade some IAs, which I have 85 more to grade. So very busy with IB stuff right now. Just a little bit about me. My name is, of course, Daniel Wilkie, and I teach in Greenville, South Carolina. I've been teaching now overall 25 years of math, and about 18 to 20 of those years have been IB. So I feel like I've got a good grasp of it, although there's some days where I could use all the help in the world, it feels, from my fellow teachers. But I also mark IAs for IB. So like I said, I'm yes, thank you, Michelle. We just got them we just got qualified for them on Friday. So I'm just at the starting stages. They move along pretty quickly once I get going, but I'm at the beginning stages. So I still got 85 more to go. So I grade IAs, and I also mark paper 1 for the applications and interpretations exam. So I do that, and like I said, in about 2 or 3 weeks, we're all me and a group of other teachers are going to get together and nitpick the mark scheme and kind of get that in order so we can start grading those as soon as the exams are done and scanned in. But I also teach. I'm the analysis and approaches SL teacher at my school. And right now we are currently in, exam prep mode. So we just finished last week our review portion of the material because I front load my course with the new material, like the calculus stuff and the prob and stat stuff that they didn't learn the year before. And then I spend, the next few months reviewing the other topics 1, 2, and 3. And so we just finished that last week. And so now we get 3.5 weeks to really bring the review home and hopefully my kids do all right. And like I said, I'll share with you what I do with them through the whole year and through these last few weeks. But what we're going to talk about tonight, before we get to some samples and some open discussion between us all, we're going to talk about just some basic exam structure. So everybody should know this, but I just thought I'd highlight it really quick. Now I know it says on the screen that we're going to do some handheld tips and tricks, and we will, but I'm going to combine that with when we go over specific questions, show you what we could do on the calculator, both the 84 and the Nspire, and then I'll show you where you can find all the sample questions that I've created on the TIIB website. Probably most of you know where those are, but I'm just going to quickly show you where you can get them. And then, like I said, we'll go over a few of the samples together just to kind of get a sense of, how I've written them and the mark schemes that are with them and how you should be going over them with your students to kind of help you out. And any time through this process, through this next 45 minutes that we're talking together here, if you have anything that you would like to share, ideas that you use in class, I'm sure the 56 people who are tuned in to us would love to hear it and read that, what you do and what you find successful. Because I know the stuff that I do in my class, I think it's successful, but you might have something else that we all might like to try, and I'd love to hear it. I'd love to see you contribute to that. All right. So now I'm going to share my screen. Right. And of course, I should get my calculators open and ready to go. Okay, so we kind of went through the agenda for tonight. Let's quickly just talk about the structure of the exams. We do have some teachers here who are both standard level and higher level teachers. So again, this shouldn't be brand new information to you, but I don't know. Some of you, like me, I don't always go to the IB website and read everything word for word. So I just thought I would share some of this information to see if you've never read it all through. Here are some basics for you. So the standard level, of course, is broken up into paper 1 and paper 2. The analysis and approaches courses, they have, in the paper 1, it's of course non-calculator. And that is an 80-mark exam. It's split up into both short and extended response questions. You get an hour and a half, and it's worth 40% of the overall grade. Now, really, there are two differences between the analysis and approaches and the applications and interpretations exam. One is that calculators allowed for every part of a applications and interpretations exam. So paper 1, paper 2, and higher level paper 3. So it's all calculator. The other difference is in paper 1, you only have short answer questions. In the analysis and approaches, part A is short answer. Part B, you have several longer extended response questions. But paper 1 for AI, all short response. So for paper 2, though, the analysis and approaches, now they can use the calculator, and it's still split into short and extended responses. So that's the same. But for the applications and interpretations, just like in the good old days of math studies, that is all extended responses. So, and you can see how everything's 80 marks per paper. They're all hour and a half for each exam, and it's all 40% of the final grade. And then, of course, that remaining 20% we all should know is the IA. Now, going over to the higher level portion, all right, we have, again, since it's higher level, you'll see that the marks have increased. So it went from 80 marks to 110 marks. All right, but now they've also added an extra half an hour for the students to work on their responses. But nothing else really changes other than the amount of marks and the time limit. You should also notice that it's now 30% because of a paper 3. Paper 1 is 30%, paper 2 is 30%, and now paper 3 is that other 20% to fulfill the 80% of external examination. And then we get to the great old paper 3. We have now the compulsory extended response questions, which have been interesting. After the first couple rounds, the May and November exams, it was interesting to see how they did the compulsory extended response. So basically, it's two very large questions for the analysis and approaches, and for the applications and interpretations, you just get several extended response questions there. So that is a quick little, basic breakdown of the exams. Okay, and hopefully you all know that, but I just thought I'd highlight that really quick before we went forward. So moving on, like I said, we're going to go through some tips and tricks as we're moving along. So if you have your calculator handy, we're going to basically need them for some of the exam questions that we're going to go over. If you're an 84 or an Inspire user, I'll make sure and highlight both. So, I mean, me personally, I'm the Inspire user, but again, if you have the 84, we're going to show you some stuff there too. Now, where do we find all of the, what is TI doing with respect to sample questions? Well, when we first started doing this several years back, we started basically creating questions, or I started. I've kind of been doing this kind of on my own. Not that I don't love doing it, but I've been creating questions for activities for TI. So if we were just to kind of go to our good old TI website, all right, so you're just going to go to education.ti.com, of course. You can either go to the activities tab or the resources tab. Both of them have IB resources on them. And now we get to see the breakdown of either the activities for analysis and approaches, or applications and interpretations. And I really like the way that they have structured this website, because you can go right to your class, click on browse activities, and you have now about 70 to 80 activities to choose from that correspond to different topics of the IB courses. Now, some of them are repurposed from the TI website, so they're just activities that we found that correlate, all right, to our IB curriculum. And our goal is, over the coming years, you will find out like something like this that says new and updated. So that means that I have taken, either I've created a brand new activity for, or I've taken an old activity and updated it with an IB spin on it. So that's something that you'll see more and more of. We do about 8 of those every kind of semester. So they just posted a new one, which this one was the latest one they posted, the profit equations in calculus. So that was kind of cool. I'll click on that one. And what you see is a screenshot of the activity, some objectives, vocab, and about the lesson, real quick overview, that sort of thing. And then at the bottom, this is the important thing for you. You'll see, a zip folder with all the files, or it's broken down into PDF or doc files. So what I love is it has the doc files so you can alter them. All right. And so I recommend that you do that. And then all you would have to do is, since we're working on sample IB questions, you can click down here at the bottom and download the exam style question. Now, I think I already have that one popped up. Yes, profit equations. So here is this is one of the sample IB questions that I had written. So last year I had seen in the applications and interpretations course and a calculus question that students just struggled with. So I modeled this question after that, just to kind of give teachers some prep, because students, they saw that the DPDW type of, notation, and they struggled with knowing that, to get back to the original function, they're going to have to integrate, and how do they integrate? So there was some confusion with that, first step, that part A of finding an expression for P in terms of W. All right. So again, these are how they are laid out. And what I love about them is we give you this document. If you want to just use this question, use it, give it to your students. I wouldn't share with them where you got it from, because then they can find the mark scheme for it. So I would you take all the credit for it, say, here's an example that I came up with, and then you just give it to them. How about that? And just say, it was good, send me a message, say it was a good one, or it could use a little work, or, I love the feedback. We're always trying to improve. But this is a pretty basic question. It says Timekeepers Inc. produces and sells watches. The company's profit, P, in thousands of dollars, changes based on the number of watches, W, they produce per month. The rate of change, so the derivative equation for the profit, is given below. The company makes a profit of 70, and then that's in thousands of dollars, when they produce 20 watches. So now your students are supposed to find an expression for P in terms of W. So this is the integration. So students will integrate with respect to W. And then once they do that, they're going to put in this information of 70,000 for 20 watches to, of course, find that plus C, that C value, that constant value, so that they can get the official, equation for that. And so looking at this, this is a calculator question because it was on an interpretation. So let's see, it says, slide the word Zoom slider in the bottom right. Okay. So I'm going to increase the size here. Thank you, Bruce. So looking at this, each question comes with a mark scheme. So what you can do as a teacher is, have students do this question. If they struggle with it, because you have now a document here, you can alter the problem how you see fit. You can create a similar derivative equation with similar numbers here and have them work another question, but different numbers, but same type of question. So I've given you one question here, but my hope is that you take it and then expand on it. Do more with that one question, change it around to see how you see fit and how it will help your students out. But again, looking at this, now that we have integrated, you can see part A, here's your mark scheme, and how it's broken down. So if you don't have access to a test generator, like the IB test generator, the question bank on Follett, you can get that, which has the mark scheme. I've modeled my mark schemes after the ones I use when I grade the exams. So what you'll notice is that to earn 1 point, there just needs to be evidence of integration. So just that the students know that they have to integrate, then that's worth 1 mark. And then we have 2 marks for the actual correct first term and the correct second term. And you'll notice that the plus C is in parentheses. If they forget the plus C in that original integration, or if they put it in there, it's okay. They don't lose any credit for that. So what we're looking for is evidence of integration, and then do they have the correct terms? All right, you get 1 mark for each correct term. All right, and then as we follow through, because this is a 5-mark question, now we actually have to find the constant. All right, so we are going to plug in the 20 watches and then the 70 for the 70,000 that we make for selling 20 watches. So looking at that, that's worth another mark. So for that, basically inputting the correct values in. And then for the final mark, of course, is finding that C value and putting it in the equation. And that's how the 5 marks are broken down there for that question. All right. And I really, I struggled when I was grading this style of question for IB because so many students were getting it wrong. I mean, I saw so many students try to take the derivative of this original function, even though this was the derivative function, and then they just didn't know what to do with it if they did integrate. So it was a bit of a struggle for that. Now, the part B, it says the company regularly increases the number of watches it produces. Describe how their profit changes if they increase production to over 25 watches per month and up to 35 watches per month. So justify your answer. So it's basically asking, what's happening if they increase production? Does it reach a certain point where it doesn't make them any more profit? They're trying to find the sweet spot of, when do they earn the most profit? So then we're going to go to the mark scheme. Okay. So what they would have to do is this could be used as a definite integral, or the students could graph it and kind of describe the graph. But basically what they need to show is because the profit function is decreasing, that means that the gradient is negative, or the rate of change is negative. So they have to make some sort of comment like that. So what we're looking for is, for one, they have to notice that profit will decrease at a certain value. So it's going to go up and up and up. And then at a certain point, making so many watches is not going to help their overall bottom line. And so there are several different ways that you could have reached that conclusion, either verbally or showing an integral, a definite integral type of situation, or using the original function and plugging in the values of 25 watches and 35 watches to see have things increased or decreased, going from 25 to 35. And there was, a massive decrease in the profit there. And one thing that IB that hopefully or should know is that when you have to give a reason, all right, with the answer, you can't be given, if they get the right answer but the wrong reason, all right, you don't get that A1 point. You have to have kind of both of those things correct to earn both points there. So IB is a little picky about that even though they got the right reason or the right answer, they're not going to give you both points. You have to have both of them together to earn those points there. So that's just one example that I liked with respect to the questions. And this is a new one. It just was posted yesterday on the website, the profit equations and calculus. And just to kind of highlight the calculator a little bit. So if we were to go to the Inspire, how would we have done the integral on the Inspire? Well, there's a couple ways. One way is you can always go to the menu, all right, and then it has its own calculus, drop down menu here, and you could do an integral, okay? And you could do our definite integral that way. So that is one way that we can do it on the calculator, and then input the definite integral parts, the function, and then with whatever letter they are integrating with respect to. But you can also use the math template button. So right next to number 9. All right, if you hit that math template button, you can integrate here at the far right in the middle row. That's also the definite integral. So I really like this math template. It's a quick key to all these things that kind of just pop up. So if you haven't spent time with that, I would recommend that you do that over the next few weeks with your students, showing them a quick way to get to things like fractions and square roots and logs and stuff like that going forward. Now, some things are turned off. I have a CAS calculator here. Nothing is turned off here. But if you have a non-CAS calculator, then something like this down here in the lower left, that will be turned off because that is an indefinite integral and we can't find that on the exam. So that will be turned off for your students if they have a CAS version. If they don't have a CAS version, it doesn't matter. It's not on there anyways. So, but I just thought I'd share that. Now, if you were using an 84 calculator, what we would do to do our, let me clear all this, where would we go to find, how would we do an integral here? Well, there's a couple options. Again, we can go to our math button here, and you can see the finite integral at number 9, and there we have the same setup as we did with, the Inspire. All right, so that's one way to find it, and I think the other way is, yes, it was a good guess. I don't use the 84 too much, but thankfully I remembered. If you hit, and I'll clear out of this, if you hit alpha and then the window key, all right, you'll notice that it's a quick key option to go to number 4. Here is your, that's your definite integral as well. So a couple different ways that you can use your calculators to find that definite integration. So hopefully people are aware of that. I'm sorry, Lynn, I didn't see your question there. I was so busy, scanning through the calculator stuff. The M excuse me. The M represents a method mark. Okay, so it's basically the procedure how to get to the answers. Most of the method marks that you will earn on an exam are given. So if you get the right answer, then if you had a method mark in there, you would be given that. So usually given marks are kind of in parentheses. I think I forgot to put those in parentheses, and I apologize for that. But yes, a method mark, the letter M, is for the procedure of how to get. That's why when it said showed proof of integration, that was your method. So you got that M1. And then the A, some people say it's the answer mark, but it's really accuracy mark. So basically your job is to look for, are they accurate with those marks, with those steps. Okay. Oh, thank you, Jasmine. I appreciate that. Thanks. Everybody's doing that. Good. All right. Is look at all that. Awesome. Okay. So that was one question. Okay. And thank you for Monica pointing out that this says DX here and not DW. That should say DW. I'm going to have to fix that. I will send that out right after we are done here. Boy, I love seeing mistakes. DW, not DX. Okay, so let's pick out another question to kind of look over. So we are going to, let's do compound interest. So going to topic 1, here's another if you go to the compound interest activity, this is a question that I wrote for using compound interest. So Steve and Dale want to purchase the same jet ski that cost $15,900 US. Steve invested X dollars US in an account that pays an annual interest of 2.9% compounded monthly. All right, and we are going to, after 10 years, he will have 15,900 US in the account. Dale invested 8,000 US for N years. The investment has an annual interest rate of 2.5 compounded quarterly. After N years, the investment will be worth 15,900 US. Calculate Steve's initial investment X to 2 decimal places. So there are a couple ways we can do this, okay? There is the formula that is given on the formula packet. So it's funny because in the United States here we have a slightly altered formula than the formula that's on the formula packet. So I spend kind of a year showing my students how to do a compound interest problem using the standard every PCal textbook. That would be great if I just said, hey, we're an IB class, an IB school. Why don't I just use the other formula? So I've started over the last few years kind of showing them both just to kind of get them ready for that. But please remember to tell your students, over these next few weeks, and especially that week before the exam, start really paying attention to where things are on that formula packet. So they're not flipping through it, spending extra seconds, finding things. Make sure they remember where they are because there's so much in there. It is so beneficial, compared to an AP exam where they make you memorize everything. I just love the fact that they give you the stuff to use. So you have to know how to use it, not just memorize it. And that just adds so much stress to a student when they have to both memorize and know how to use. So I really like the formula packet. So make sure you're pushing your students to scan over that, know where things are, just basically so we can, have more time for them. Anyways, so the 2 ways that we could use it, again, are the formula. You'll notice here on the mark scheme, okay, I have, this time I actually used parentheses, so I don't know what happened in the last one. So we set up the equation that he's earned $15,900. We set up the X equals, the X is the principal that we're looking for, and then the information that we have here. So we get $11,901.55 that he invested in that. So, and then looking up to, there's also their calculator way where you can use the financial solver, okay, which again, I'll do a quick little scan through that for both calculators so you know where they are. So you can kind of check that out. So we had a question. It says, the analysis students had a question about financial problems. How do we know when to round years to the nearest year, up to the following year, and when a decimal is okay? So exactly. So basically, I think Shraddha, I'm probably mispronouncing that. But yeah, so when we're dealing with money, okay, all answers, with money have to be, to those 2 decimal places, okay? So you have to include those cents unless it specifically says to round to a certain thing. Now, when we're talking about years, which is part B to this question, where it says find the value of N, so how many years did it take for him to invest, okay? Yes, and I get that with the confusion there. So using the formula to kind of create, when to round, it doesn't say full years. So basically what we're looking for is if it's like 27 point so many years, okay, what you need to remind your students is it takes 28 years, because investments usually happen, you know, with respect to a certain, quarterly, yearly, monthly, that sort of thing. But it's based off of how many years that, using the formula that we see here, it's based off of how many years, that the investment is happening. So we have to go to that next full year, to get that answer. So with respect to, if it said 27 point whatever, it has to be, okay, yes. So if it takes more than 27 years, then yes, I would have my students go to 28, because that's when, if we were to type into that formula, we wouldn't say, 27.31 years or 27 and a half years. We would just give a year number there. And that's what we're expecting here, is just if there's any portion of that year that it has taken to reach that level, then it will be 28 years, to get there. And I might be talking in circles and I might not be helping you, but what I tell my students is just bump it up to that next year. When we're dealing with finances, just to be, we set that in place as soon as we go over compound interest, just so we don't question it going forward with that. Was it 10 years or 18 years for what? I'm confused about that. So for Steve, his was 10 years, but for Dale, we're looking for how many years, okay, it took him. If he invested $8,000, how many it took for him to get to 15,900. So it would take him a long time to get to that 15,900. But for Steve, he invested it for 10 years. He got the money. So I'm just checking to make sure. Yes, and that's the other thing, is what year will the investment exceed X? Yes. Um, just so many for that. So many, so many, so many. 18. Oh, I see what people are saying. That should be, oh my gosh, is that another mistake? Jeez. All right, change. Profit. How is that like that? Huh. So 18 to 10. Thank you. People are this. I have to do this for all my questions. I think I should just send every one of you my questions for you to look at it for me. It should be 10. It should be 10 there. So for that. So if we were to just kind of type this in, so let's kind of do this on the calculator, because we're getting some conflicting numbers here. So let's see. So how would we solve this problem on the calculator? All right, so how would we solve this? So if I go to my Nspire, let's get rid of this. If we were to, now, there's a couple different ways we can go about doing this. We can set up, yes, that was just a typo for those people who found that, so I apologize. I will get that fixed. Yes, I will also write that right as IB formula. I will get both of those fixed tomorrow. Thank you. Yeah, that is. I never agreed with that formula, but because I always have my students change the rates automatically to a decimal. I don't have them put the 100 in the fraction to divide it. Is Dale quarterly? Let's double check that. Dale is compounded monthly. Oh no, sorry, quarterly. Yes. So that's why that answer has a 4 there. So he is quarterly. I love all the questions. This is great. This is great. Well, thank you people for agreeing with me with that. So yeah, so Jenny wrote up the formula for the compound continuous formula, the PERT formula. So what we are going to do is, how do we solve this equation with respect to solving for that n? So I have students who will do it kind of piece by piece. You know, they'll divide over the 8,000, and then they will, you know, have that 1 plus the 0.025 over 4. They'll make that one decimal, and then they'll convert to logs. All right, and then from there they will solve for n. So that's one way. Another way you can do that. And we got a reaction out of Jasmine. I don't know what the oh my god was for, but another way you can graph. Students can take that to a graph page and graph the 15,900. That sounds painful. Yeah, it could be. We do spend a lot of time on logs when we're in our pre-calculus class for that. We can also graph the left side, right side, see where they intersect. That's another way. Then we can also use the financial solver. So if we go to menu, then we can go to finance and then the finance solver. And this is where you're going to input your information with that. Let's see. Yes. Yeah, and Monica, you are 100% correct. I would never recommend my students to do the graphing, but for some reason, they just feel compelled to graph that, even though they're going to have to adjust their scales so much with the 15,900 and the decimals that are in there, or they're going to have to zoom in, zoom out, and it's just that would be. I agree with you 100% that I do not recommend my students using that. And just like Michelle said, I would use the solver. I mean, that is kind of you just plug the numbers in that you're given, and you can kind of see here, all we're doing is plugging in what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. All right. We're plugging in 5 numbers to get an answer. And it only is going to give them problems if the students don't know, where to plug the numbers in. So would IB ever put this on a paper one? No, they would never make them do it by hand. I can, with almost 100% certainty, say that they would not do that. Now, I guess I can't say never, but I mean, that is just, I only have seen this either on the AI style question, because they can always use the calculator, or a paper 2 for the AA. Yeah, so I would never see that. I'll tell them to put them in the floor to show work, because yes, that's actually a good idea, because here's what students do, and it's frustrating as an examiner, and I'm so glad we're having this discussion, because this comes up a lot. Students think that you can write this down, okay, and get credit, for that, for all the credit for the whole thing. What IB does, and I'll share it with you because I think I have one right here in my mark scheme. Where is it? Oh yeah, here it is. So I have one here in my mark scheme from last year. Okay, they showed students can write this down, which is fine. Okay, but they give specific notes on what is going to be, where you're going to earn your points from, because this is 2 marks for showing this correct stuff. So it'll say award 1 mark, a method mark, for an attempt to use this financial app. So they can earn a point for just showing that they attempted to use it, and then basically a mark for getting it all correct. All right. So, which I think those need to be switched. No, it wasn't switched. It was different. So again, what they're looking for, because now the question was asked that one of your, or yes, so one of your, either the present value or the future value, one of them has to be negative when you're doing it. So in this case, I did the future value was that minus, I put the minus there. So that's the way I had done that one. And someone asked, can we show how to do it on the solver? And yeah, we can. We could do that. We have the time. I love it when you ask that. And then there. Okay. So let's take a look. Does it matter the Nspire or the 84 for, does it matter which one we do it on? Yes, exactly. Thank you, Sarah, for saying that. They show it on the mark scheme that one is plus, one is minus. And then sometimes they'll put either a plus minus right next to it to show that one has to be plus minus and the other one has to be minus plus. So they actually put that in the mark scheme. So yes, correct, Sarah. Thank you. Boo, boo, boo. Let's see. TI-Nspire. Okay. Oh, 84. We got two. One said the Nspire, one said 84. Let's do both real quick. All right. So if I were to plug in my values, so what is, I didn't even remember what was that first one there. So the interest was that. So we're looking for the number of years, right? So our interest was going to be a let's get this for this 2.5. All right. We don't need to. Okay. I didn't mean to do that. Trying to go quick. All right. And then what did I put in here? I did 8,000 due and then no payment. Don't worry about that. Future value. This is what I put my 5,900. And then I did 1 and 4. Okay, so basically what I have is the interest here, what we started with. Okay, there are no payments that were being made. Future value, all right, you could put the minus plus, okay. We are looking for N. I'm going to go up there. That's why I left that blank for now. And so then the, so we have the P and the C values, we're just going to be 1 and 4. So then if we go up to the solver and hit enter, here we get our answer of, 27.5608, blah, 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 blah. So this is what I recommend my students doing because it honestly does not take them that long to do. As long as they put the right numbers in, it should be a very quick process. And it's something everybody has access to. Okay. And then let's see, got another question. When we're done, I'd love to hear what you were saying about the IB grades, the work on these kinds of problems. If the equation and the answer is enough, they use the function on the calculator. So again, what IB is looking for this, the students must either write down everything that they wrote down here, okay? So they have to put N and then what the answer, or whatever they have to fill in. They put the I and then what's next to it, the PV, what's next to it, the payment, there's no payment, the future value. So the compoundings per year, that sort of thing. That all has to be listed, all right, to earn the marks leading up to the answer. Okay, so if this is a 3-mark question, they would get 2 marks for just writing that stuff out. And then to get the final mark, of course, they would list the 28 years that they've got from the N value here. Okay, so that is how they earn those 3 marks. Or if they did the equation method, they would get 1 mark for attempting the equation, 1 mark for actually putting the correct values in the equation, and then 1 mark for the answer. So that's how those would be distributed, either using the financial solver or using the equation for that. And then on the 84, if we clear that, we would go to, where are we going here? We go to the apps, and then number 1 is finance there, and we got number 1 is the solver. And then here you got the same setup of what you're going to type in, all the same things that you're going to do. And then wherever you are, what you're solving for, make sure that that's where your cursor ends up, hit enter, and then it'll give you your answer there. Okay, so you're going to fill in the 2.5 here, the 8,000 here, the negative 15,900 here, the 1 and the 4 there, and make sure you go back up to, okay, the N, okay, and then solve for that, and you're good. All right. So that was the 84. Thank you all so much for contributing and talking and asking questions. This has been, okay, creating. So I think, have you asked for that before? So I think I'm going to write that one down right now. So I love this, love this, love this. So annuities. All right, so thank you for that idea. So we're going to do an activity with that one for next year for the annuities and amortization. So awesome, awesome. Okay, so let's see. This document, they document it like it shows in the, yes, and substitute. Good, thank you for answering. Yes. And what about the students write the answer? Okay, so if the students write, they don't get that final A mark. So if they just wrote 27.6, they don't get that final A1 for that. So they would get the 2 for getting the correct work done, but they wouldn't get that last one. Compounded quarterly. Because the compounded quarterly was taken care of in this when we typed in the 4 down here. When we put that 4 in there, it calculated that into there. Okay, so that was that. Yes, and then if you, yes, exactly. So thank you. If you put the P is also 4, then you would get an N of 110, and then yes, you would divide that by 4. Thank you. You guys are awesome. You're answering all these questions. This is making me so happy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For the payment amount, I just left it as 0. Okay. Oh, at the payment at end. I did it at the end of the year. How is it graded if 1 or 2 entries in the financial solver are wrong? So you would get 1 mark for the attempt for the solver, and well, it depends on which ones. So it says in the mark scheme I had for IB, it says that you would get that other mark if all the entries are correct, except the previous value. If you switch the negative, they still will give you, that correct answer. But if you were to get any one of them wrong, then you would not get that mark for that. But yeah, and again, if you put 27.75 years, they want it rounded to the nearest year there. So you would not get that final point for that. Well, this has been good. This was a good one to talk about. Wow. I didn't expect to spend this much time on that. So that was some good discussion there. Good discussion. Some other ones that I just wanted to point out. We only have a few minutes left. This time has flown by. Flown by. With that. So the formula with all the values put in, then the answer would be yes, that would be fine. So Jenny asked that question, the formula with the correct answers and the answer, that's good enough to earn those 3. But honestly, you got to remember for a 3-mark question, all right, where if they give the right answer without really showing anything, they'll get the full credit. Because looking at the mark scheme here in front of me that I used, the M1 and A1 for plugging all this stuff in, those were implied marks that they would have been given if they got the right answer. So, when you're being awarded 1, 2, or 3 marks, we're just looking for the right answer. Okay. It's when you get to the 4, 5, 6, 7 mark problems that we really have to look at the steps. Or if the students get the answer wrong, then we have to go back and see, can they earn any credit there? So it's always a good rule of thumb to have them show as much as possible. Okay. But again, I just wanted to point that out, that again, at first we look for the shorter numbered, for the smaller number answered questions. We're looking for, did they get the answer right? Then we're going back to check the work. We really, not that I don't check the work, but when you're grading 250 to 300 exams, and you have, a 2 to 3 week window frame, you're trying to get all those done as quickly as possible. So you're really just looking at the right answers. If it's wrong, let's go back to the work and kind of see where did they go wrong. Can I give them any points for that there? Some other questions that I kind of popped open just in case we had time. This one I really like. This was the first new activity that I kind of wrote for TI for Voronoi diagrams. So this was a good sample of how a graph was used, and you had to use a Voronoi diagram to kind of answer the question. So if you get a chance, kind of check it out, look at the mark scheme. Please send any please send any information that you find incorrect, because I love seeing that I made mistakes. So if students get the correct answer using the wrong method, so again, it depends on how many marks it's worth. Okay. So if the answer is correct, that's that little gray area. If it's only worth 1 or 2 marks and they didn't use the correct method but still got the right answer, they're going to get that credit. But if it's a longer marked question, yes, we have to look at the steps to make sure that they are earning each step along the way. For that. So just check this out, the Voronoi diagram. I really liked it. Please give me your thoughts on that. Like I said, it was the first one I had done, first activity. There's also some a sampling technique, pretty basic, pretty straightforward. Talking about, is the data discrete or continuous? Finding an M value based on the information, and then deciding what type of sampling it is. So a pretty easy question, but just thought share that. That was a nice one, because there's not a lot of because sampling was just kind of added into the curriculum there. So I just thought I'd throw one of those at you there. Oh, it worked well, Lynn. Thank you so much. That's good. Whew. I always worry how they're going to turn out, because I have 2 people who look at my stuff, and they do it and they ask me all these questions because they're not IB people. So to have you say you did it and it worked well, that's good. Any feedback I can get from y'all, that would be great. So, one more I wanted to show you, because we're kind of running out of time here. This is just about to be added in the next week or so. You can kind of see it's not in the format of the TI website. So looking at this, this was another question from last year's AI exam that people really struggled on. It was, you were given a rational function in a specific domain, and students have to find the range and then also deal with the inverse of that function at a certain x value. So basically, take a look at this one and see, can your students answer this? Especially if you teach AI, see if your students can do this one. I would love to, if you want a copy of this, because it's not yet posted, please just send me a quick email. I'll put my email address up in a few minutes here as we end. But take a look at it, because this was the toughest paper 1 question. So the one that students got most wrong on last year's exam. And so I said, I just have to create a question similar to it, so that we can get it out there and get people to kind of do it and hopefully understand it. Like I said, it's not published yet. So if you want a copy of it, please just send me an email after I put up my email address, and I'll send it to you, just so you can kind of throw it at your students. Because like I said, it was a struggle last year in May. I was really frustrated when I was grading this type of question. But unfortunately, we've kind of run out of time here. So now I get to go try to, grade my 85 IAs. So basically, the way I do my 85 IAs, I split them up into 5 IAs a day over, the coming weeks. Thank you, Echo. And Ruth took my screen away from me. And basically, I try to do as many as I can in my planning period at school. So I usually get 2 or 3 done at school, and then at night I do, 2 or 3 at home. before I go to bed. So I don't kill myself with it. So I try to get 5 done a day. And if I can get more in a day, I do. If not, but it's IAs are a challenge. They're very subjective, and it's my job to understand what the teacher is thinking when they give their grades. So if I can make one recommendation to you all before I let Ruth take things over, please, please, please put comments on your IAs so I know why you gave your grades. Thank you all so much. I'm going to hand it over to Ruth.
Thank you, Daniel, and thank you everybody for the great questions and comments in the chat. The winner of tonight's drawing, and that's a free registration for the virtual T-Cubed International Conference, that would be Vanessa Sims. Congratulations, Vanessa.
Yay, Vanessa.
All right, I have 2 more pieces of business to take care of. If you are looking for an attendance of certificate for tonight's webinar, the link is going to be in the chat. It will also be coming to you in email, but it's in the chat. We'll keep the chat open a little bit after we after Daniel signs off. We'll keep the chat open for a little bit so that you can be sure and copy the chat. You can save that file, and lots of handy information in there and some links. So let's see, there we go. Documents for tonight's webinar. Daniel showed you where they are on the education.ti.com site with the AB resources, plus also specific documents for tonight's webinar can be downloaded using that link. That link will also come to you in email, along with information about the recording that's going to be available.
Can I say something real quick, Ruth?
You bet. I'm finished.
Also, some of the documents I posted are some calculator tip guides. So there's some Inspire and 84 tip guides if your students struggle. So if you want to check those out, they have some nice tips and so where to find things. Check that out. And thank you, Jasmine, for saying that. I just had a blog posted about IB and the exam prep and stuff like that. Please check that out. Actually, let me see if I can get that really quick and post it for those people who want to check it out. He says just been posted. Yeah, published. Okay, where is it? I'll post this. Copy. All right, I'm just putting up a link here. If you'd like to check out the blog that just was posted about IB and TI and what we've done, go ahead and check that out. And thanks for everybody for coming back. Please, 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 over the next, have good luck on your exams over the next few weeks. Push your kids. They're going to do well. Let me know if you have any questions or if you have any ideas for next year, because we're going to come back next August and start this all again. So hope to see you then. We're going to do a lot more like we did tonight, where you get to do a lot of the talking, sharing, and asking questions. So I'm really looking forward to that. So thank you all for sticking with me for 8 webinars and beyond. And for Ruth, you've done a great job. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You and everyone else made it easy and enjoyable. Thanks, everyone. As I said, we'll keep this going for a little bit. If you need to be sure and save that chat, and you'll get an email with a link to the recording, the documents, and your certificate of attendance.
And Lynn, it was nice seeing you in Dallas.